Welcome to DucBloke Tuning and Finding the Sweet Spot. Grab a cup of coffee and like and subscribe.
And welcome back to DucBloke Tuning and Finding the Sweet Spot. Today's video, we're going to be comparing 7 different bone conduction IEMs. I own 6 of the 7. One of them I do not, and that is their Canera Imperial Verdandi. This is on loan to me from Music Tech. I'm going to be sending it back to them tomorrow, but the rest of them I own. Starting from the least expensive, going all the way up to the most expensive. This is the Celeste Plutus Beast, which is the baby brother of the Verdandi, made by Canera. Then we have the Fan3. We have the Shock by Tansio Mirai. We have the BGVP Phantom, the new Origin from Audio, the Verdandi, and then the CP622B by Camper. Ranging in price, we're going from $71 all the way up to $3,000. So a big difference in price, big difference in types of drivers, big difference in the way they've implemented bone conduction in these IEMs. Here's all 6, and they're really listed out by alphabetical order, starting with the CP622B. Again, it's near 3,000. We have the driver set here. We're going to go into that a little bit more detail in this video. And then what I would consider to be the best under $3,000. And then we've got the Fan3, which is by Pennon. It's $349 retail. I could consider this to be the best bone conduction under $400. And then we have the Origin, which is only recently been released, $849. But if you get it during the Black Friday sale, you can probably get it for about $750 as a bundle from Linsel. Check it out. And again, I would say this is the best under $1,000. Then you have the Phantom. It has the best fit of any of these. It's a nice small IEM. We have the Plutus Beast, which is the best budget set, $71 for bone conduction. Who knew? And then so that's the best under 100. The Tansio Mirai Shock, which is $599, and I would say this is the best under $600. And then we have the Verdandi, which is almost $1,000, and it was the most improved by adding parametric EQ. And with that, let's get stuck into what we found out. First, we have the Camper. The Camper 622B, well-known IEM for being one of the best in the world. In fact, this was HBV's favorite for quite some time. It's one of my favorites. It uses a Sonian 37AAX007 bone conduction driver. They don't tell you very much on the Camper website about the drivers and how they're implemented, so it's hard to dig into exactly what they're doing, but they're doing it right. We're going to show you how this really separates itself out from the pack, because money don't lie in this case. Next one up is the Audio Origin. This has one bone conduction driver. You can see here it's a new in-house bone conduction driver from Audio that provides textural enhancements to the mids and treble. Most people think that the bone conduction driver is adding rumble or bass or giving them more feel. It's adding texture in this case to the mids and the treble. They're allowing the DD to do the work for the really good bass response. Don't be fooled that because it has bone conduction that's taking care of the bass. Next, we have the Phantom. They go into a lot of detail explaining how the Phantom implements its bone conduction. Again, it's a Sonian bone conduction driver. Looks very familiar, doesn't it, to the one that was in the CP622B. Not sure, they don't tell you. All they do is show you a picture of it, and then they show you how it's mounted in the shell and where the exit hole is. You can see right here. And when I first got this IEM, tried to find the smallest tip possible so that I could bring that as close to my ear, as close to the bone as I could, because I wasn't really feeling it. I thought, bone conduction, this should give me some feel. But again, it's adding texture. The Phantom has really good texture, but I wouldn't say it's a bassy IEM. It's a very accurate IEM. You can see here that there's a graph there. We're going to talk about the graphs a little bit later. But that hole is meant to be placed, again, close to your ear, creating bone conduction waves through that little hole. Now let's talk about the Tansio Mirai Shock. This is fairly new. I also did a video on this. It also uses what they call 2 Sonian bone conduction drivers. I think what they mean by that, and I'm going to go back a picture, is this has 2 sides to it. So they're calling that 2, but Really, it's one. If you look at it right here, so that's the rectangle that's in the shell. What they've put a patent around is this rectangular channel that goes at right angles and comes out the side. Realize that this doesn't come out the side near your ear in the channel. In fact, we can grab one of these here and show you that, just so you can see it. There it is. So hopefully that's making sense to you. There's the two little rectangular holes that vent to the bone conduction driver just here, that rectangle at the back. And you can see when this is in your ear, it would be in this way. This is actually pointing down. It's actually not on this surface like the Phantom is stating that is in contact with the bone. This is actually pointing downwards. Next is the Celeste Plutus Beast, $71 IEM here on the left, and the Verdandi $1,000 IEM on the right. And you can see that they're using the same bone conduction driver in a $71 set that they're putting into the $1,000 set. Although they are adding Sony and ESTs into this, a couple of BAs and a DD, whereas this doesn't have as many drivers. But they are using the same bone conductor. I believe it's an in-house driver. And there's something unique about both of these. I don't know if you can hear that. When I flick it, you can feel this vibrate through the entire IEM. When you talk about bone conduction, this is probably gives you the most feeling of any of the bone conduction I've heard so far. It's a cheaper way of implementing bone conduction by having this little vibrating plate inside. It's good, $71, but why you would take this at $71 and put it into that at $1,000? This is an overlay, and it's a dog's breakfast of all 7 IEMs before I applied any PEQ tuning to them. I don't expect to make sense of this. I just want to show you how they overlaid, but we're going to show you one by one how they overlay against the camper, which is, again, the best of the lot. This is a spider graph. It probably makes more sense of all of these IEMs before PEQ and how well they were tuned. And you can see money don't lie again. You've got the Plutus Beast here in red sitting in the middle at $71, and then of course the blue on the outside is the camper CP622B. This other blue just here, that's where the Phantom is. Then you've got the Shock, the Verdandi, and the Origin is sitting out here. So the Origin, I would say, is the number 2 in the number 2 spot before PEQ. So here's the camper before and after the EQ that I made for it. You can see where the midsection just in here didn't have to do much, didn't have to do anything really. It's very well tuned through the mids. In fact, it's what I would consider slightly warm in the treble for my taste, so I elevate the treble up a little bit, but I really elevated the bass as well because this, is a bassy IM, and I'm a bass head. Anyway, so I applied a lot more bass to it, and this is what I wound up with. If you have a CP622B, get a hold of me, and I will send this to you, and you can try it out for yourself. I've been getting a lot of feedback on all the other IMs, like the Origin, the Fat Frequency Deuce. A lot of people have written to me and asked me for the PEQ settings for that. So this is the CP622B on a spider graph showing you the before and after. You can see that the score before, I gave it a 9.54. It is, again, money don't lie, a very good IEM out of the box. Where I added to it was here in the sub bass, the bass feel, and over here it added to the note weight and the slam, added a little bit in the treble and the upper treble, but really it's adding that bass. You have to balance it out by adding a little bit more into the treble region. And that brought it, by the way, to a 9.93 out of 10. Very good score. This is truly an endgame IEM. So now we're going to look at the Verdandi because it's the next, let's say from a price perspective, in line. We're looking at this in both SquigLink, which is DucBloke.squig.link. Thank you, Mark Ryan, for all the work you do. Super review. And then we have Rue over here on the left, which is where I took the original measurements because this is lining it up at 600, but I really want to line it up at 1,000 to show you what the differences are between these and how Verdandi just doesn't really suit me out of the box. Scoops down in the mids quite a lot, so it's missing a lot of the mid-range as compared to the camper. It's a little bit more bloated in the bass region as it transitions into the lower mids. Its air gain is a little bit steeper. It's a little bit more spicy. It's got some treble peaks at 5,000 that really needed to be cooled down. That's exactly what I did. So this is the Verdandi before and after. When I created the PEQ, if you have the Verdandi, let me know. I'll send you the EQ for it. I added more bass. I leveled out the mids, brought the mids up, and I really pulled that Pina gain down quite a bit. There was a section in the treble at about 5K, about between 5K and 10K, where this really dipped down, and I was finding instruments were completely gone. I wasn't hearing cymbal strikes, tambourines, anything really high-pitched in that treble region just wasn't registering on the song. As soon as I applied the PEQ settings, instruments appeared again. So this is the Verdandi before and after. I had it as an 8.28 out of 10 before. I had it as a 9.11. So this elevated 0.83 in its score. You can see most of its, well, just about everything got better on this IEM. The only things that were even close were the masking and layering and the timbre and the sibilance, but everything else, big improvement on this. Next is the Audio Origin against the Camper CP622B. You can see how well this aligns. There's no wonder this is getting such rave reviews by the community right now, because it's tuned really well. Typical the audio tuning with the bass tuck, it's rising in the Pina gain area, pretty close to where my target would be, and then the treble extension is quite excellent. So it matches the CP622B really closely, but it has more bass than the CP622B out of the box by about, I don't know, 3 or 4 dB, which is quite significant actually. The feel and the of the bass from the audio, you really don't have to add any more to the bass. I did tune it though. This is the Origin after tuning, before and after tuning, and really what I added to this was the tonality. It was really the lower mids that were missing it for me. I tucked the lower mids in, you'll see that in my previous video, just a little bit, and that really helped with the tonality on this one, and then helped with the lower mids. That's the section I worked on, and the upper mids and the lower treble regions, but everything else was pretty set. So it started out as an 8.99 and got to a 9.2, and again, I have the PEQ if you want it, and I'll send it to you. Next is the Phantom. You can see here I put up both graphs again because this likes to, in Squiglink, line this up at around 500 to 600 hertz, and I really wanted to show you what it's like when I line it up at 1000 hertz. The Phantom is very well tuned in the treble region as compared to the CP622B. It's very similar, has the same Pina rise, has the same treble extension. It's a very good sounding IEM in this region, but where I found it was a little bit flat, it needed the bass to be tucked slightly, and the mids were scooped out, so it needed the mids elevated. So there it is. That's the Phantom before and after. Added a lot more bass, tucked it into the mids to make a nice transition at about 150, 160. Helps with the male vocals. And then I lowered the Pina gain on it, and then I extended the treble a little bit further out on it as well, because I added so much more bass to this. Made it a very fun tuning. Get a hold of me if you have the Phantom. Happy to send you the PEQ. Here's the before and after. It went from a 8.42 to a 9.08. So it elevated it quite a lot. The only thing that really didn't change was the masking and the timbre, but everything else was made better in this IEM, much more rounded. Now over to the Tansio Mirai shock. The shock is unique amongst all of these because it has tuning pots, and I talk about this in the video. The yellow one does bass, and the brown one does the treble region, and I found by adjusting the bass, adding a lot of bass to this, I didn't need to tune it as much in the final PEQ production. So I manually tuned it with its pots and then did the rest in the PEQ settings. You can see that it's very good from about 1000 all the way out as compared to the Camper 622B, but the Tansio Mirai, because I added this much bass, I really needed to tuck that down, and that's what the PEQ did to it. So there's the Tansio Mirai. I pulled this down a little bit here, not as much as you'd think. Really, it followed the graph pretty closely to my ear's preference for this. Added a little bit more in the mids. Didn't do very much, pulled it back just a little bit in the Pina gain region, and then added a little bit of treble extension. And there's the before and after. This became a very rounded, excellent IEM after tuning. So it went from a very strong 8.63 to a 9.11 as a bone conduction IEM. A lot of feel, a lot of really good texture in this IEM. Became much more rounded, filled in the bass region, added more slam and note weight to it. Here we have the Penon Fan3. This is a very odd tuning as compared to the Camper 622B. Very flat in the yellow line, has a lot of energy up top in the treble region, so that really needed to be cooled down to make this a more fun IEM, and that's what I did to it. So added more bass, tucked it in down here, and then filled in some of this treble at about 6K. This is the before and after. Again, made it a much more rounded experience. In fact, it's almost a perfect circle if you look at the final. So I went from an 8.38 out of the box to a 9.01 after PEQ settings. Remembering this is a $350 bone conduction IEM with really good hardware, excellent fit, really nice tips, well worth the money from Penon if you're in the game for something that costs. And if it's on sale, I know it's on sale right now. If you go to AliExpress or to Penon's website, sub $300 I believe right now. So excellent buy if you're in the market for bone conduction at that price. Now over to the Plutus Beast. You can see that the Plutus Beast tuning, it's very fat in its transition from bass into the lower mids, makes the male vocals sound a bit too thick, and then the Pina gain is a little bit too early in here, and it's also very spicy up top. What I did to it, added more bass, tucked it down, pulled the Pina gain back, added more treble to it to fill in this hole right here. Usually your bass region, I like it to be about 5 dB over my treble region, so that's a good balance in this IEM. So this is only a 3-driver IEM. The tuning after this, again, it's $71. It's a lot of fun. Here's the before and after. You can see it's nowhere near as rounded and nowhere near as let's say high scoring. So it started out as a 7.78. It's the lowest scoring of them all. Again, money don't lie. I was able to elevate this up to an 8.52 by adding PEQ to it. Here's the overlay of everything after the PEQ settings were applied. And this is really where you start to see the Camper 622B setting itself apart in this region all the way around. The only thing that comes close to it on tonality is the origin. Other than that, you can see why you have to spend triple the price to get something that's that good all the way around. Here's the scoring system that I used. All of the different parameters, the sub bass all the way through to the texture, and then the averages before and after. And here's the ranking. You can see that out of the box, right here, out of the box, I had the Camper 622B in first place by a long shot, actually. And then second place, I had it as the Origin. And third place, I had it as the Tansio Mirai Shock. When I applied the PEQs, first and second place remained the same, but third place all of a sudden became a tie between the Verdandi and the Shock. Now the Verdandi is $400 more, but it went from being in sixth place to being in third place, so it just needed a good tuning. Once that was applied, it actually did quite well. Money don't lie, 71 bucks. This was in seventh place all along. 3 drivers. It's got a bone conduction, 1 BA, and then 1 SPD. And with that, I wanted to give you guys a little bit of a sneak preview to what arrived today. It's right in this little box right here. So, the big reveal. From Malaysia, the Alpha Omega Omega. Look how beautiful that is. So this is an endgame IEM. Costs about $2.5 grand. Guy named Clement, master tuner. This guy is so good. I tried this at CanJam after I tried the Raw from Music Tech. I tried it from Music Tech at CanJam and then reached out to him and said, hey, look, man, I want to do a really good review on this. You know, he got me a good price. I bought it. So there it is. Look at those shells. Anyway, I've been listening to these all day, and I got to tell you, they are worth every penny. These are going to take it to the CP622B, and they're going to take it to the Grand Maestros. I mean, they are well and truly in the same league. Looking forward to doing that video next. Please like and subscribe. Really do appreciate how the channel has grown. I appreciate HBB gave me a shout out a couple videos ago where he was talking about different reviewers. I think he likes my approach, that I'm hitting a lot of different notes. Please like and subscribe, and I will continue to respond as quickly as possible, get you the PEQ settings, and DucBloke out.
Thank you for visiting DucBloke Tuning and finding the sweet spot. Your comments are very much appreciated. I'll try to respond as quickly as possible. Share the PEQ settings with you if you own these particular IEMs or if you plan on purchasing them to maximize your investment. Again, thank you so much for supporting the project.